and welcome to the special edition of ET Now Startup Central. For a change, we are joining you not from Bengaluru but from Chennai at the offices of one of India's best known companies in the software as a service space in the area of customer support, and we are joined by Girish Mathrubootham. Should I now refer to this as Freshdesk or Freshworks, which I believe is a rebranded version?
Yeah, so that's the exciting news. So we are rebranding ourselves as Freshworks from June 7th.
Okay, so that's the big story here, why we are at the offices of Freshworks. It's going to take some time for me to get used to the change from Freshdesk to Freshworks. But Girish, you know, Freshdesk is something that has become synonymous with customer support in India, a company that's really built a reputation for itself to rival the likes of Zendesk and Salesforce coming from India. So why now and so what? Those are the two questions that I have for you. You know, why this change now and what change?
Yeah, exactly the reason that you mentioned. So in 2010, when we started Freshdesk, we had an idea to create a small dent in the world of customer support, and we wanted to do that by creating a fresh help desk. That's why the name of the company and the name of the product was Freshdesk. Now over the years, what happened, I think somewhere in 2013 end of 2014, so we launched Freshservice, which is an IT help desk or an IT service desk, because 23% of our Freshdesk customers were actually using it for internal support. And then we saw that a lot of customer support software users, like our users, were also wanting integration with CRM, because sales and support usually lives together. And so we built and launched Freshsales in 2016. And now all of both Freshservice and Freshsales have taken off really nicely. We have tens of thousands of happy customers. And what we realized was the Freshdesk brand, the company brand and the product brand were getting kind of overloaded. So the
because people immediately associated Freshdesk with customer support.
Yes. So we thought we needed a new brand to enable us to tell our multi-product strategy to the world better, and that's why the rebrand of Freshworks, which will be the company name, but the products will continue under Freshdesk, Freshsales, Freshservice, etc.
Right. The thing with Freshdesk is, you know, automatically it was compared to Zendesk. I don't know, maybe because of the name, maybe because of, you know, the services, though the value proposition was different. With Freshworks, again, do you fear that, you know, it could cause clutter because you have ThoughtWorks, you have WeWorks, you have CoWorks, again, different companies in different spaces, but how is Freshworks going to stand out in that sense?
No, I think see, this co-working space is a new thing, but Freshworks, we really like the name because it kind of represents it's fresh and it works, like how our software usually works. So I don't think there'll be a confusion of any sort, and we have validated this with multiple stakeholders, and pretty much they all like it. And also when you have a brand like Freshworks, it's almost like a place where a lot of stuff is produced, right? So
that works.
Yeah. That works, yeah.
Okay. And, you know, when did you set this in motion? How long is it going to take before, I mean, customers absorb it, your employees absorb it, you know, and investors, of course, I'm sure, absorb it?
So, if you ask me when the idea for a multi-product company started, I think it started, like, when we started itself, there was a desire in our minds to build a global software product brand from India.
You're talking about the 2010 time
Yeah,
frame.
so we wanted to build a multi-product, a global product brand out of India, right? And that was our dream. But we had to tread carefully, like, because as a VC-funded startup, you need to make sure that your narrative of the company doesn't change. So, for example, in 2013 or 2012, if with one Freshdesk product, if I go and say, hey, here's our second product, Freshsales,
without validating the demand for the first.
No, then probably the investors or the new investors who were coming in would be afraid that, hey, they're not winning in Freshdesk, that's why they're going on to the next product. So we consciously planned, we contained our ambition to win in Freshdesk first, and then show that we can actually scale Freshservice, which is the second product, but in a related helpdesk domain. And then we were able to tell the world and tell our stakeholders that we are able to do this now. And actually this whole Freshworks name came into a picture, I think, in 2016. We bought the domain in February 2016. But as you rightly said, there was a lot of fear, like Freshdesk is the established brand. So will it work? And will customers take to the change easily? Should we keep Freshdesk as the brand and then rename the product?
Like a sub-brand.
Yeah, so a lot of thought went into this. But every time I have this habit of validating it with people who, like friends or investors or whoever I respect. So the more I talked about it, I think we felt better with Freshworks and the product brands, rather than the other alternative would have been to just keep the Freshdesk brand and rename the products as support, IT, HR, etc. We didn't like that because, see, each one of our products actually takes on big markets with a promise.
So this is like an umbrella
yeah.
brand.
So Freshworks is an umbrella brand. So we wanted the products to have an independent brand.
Right. And did you also realize that, you know, multi-product is the way to go, because there's only so much that you can grow in the customer support space, which already has many players. So was that also thing that, you know, perhaps you needed more diversified revenues coming from different streams, that you don't want to be over dependent on this, though you've done well?
So no, I don't think that is true. So Freshdesk itself is still our flagship product and growing really healthy. I don't think we have outgrown our capability to grow revenues in Freshdesk, but what we discovered, this is more of exploitation of a massive opportunity that we are unlocking. And I'll just try to explain it to you in a minute or two. So if you look at most of the software companies, the Valley software companies, so they all go up market, right? So they start with SMB or mid market, and then they go up market to the large enterprise, and they focus on just selling more and more of that. And if you think about enterprise software, right, we all know the big names like Oracle and SAP. And so these are all sold top down, right? They're sold to the CEO or the CIO. It's a multi-million-dollar deal. And then the users who are using it finally see it. And to many of the people that I've talked to, nobody loves the software, right? So what is happening in most companies, including like medium-sized companies or large companies, is that there is a trend, there is a shift in the consumption pattern. And you have probably observed this in companies like Dropbox, in companies like Slack, in companies like Atlassian, where the software is not sold top down. It is discovered by one of the teams internally, and then it starts growing across the company, right? And we have seen this pattern happen in Freshdesk again and again and again.
Isn't it also like a de-risking strategy for them? So if a client is, you know, tied to you for customer support and sales and IT support, isn't it too much of a risk? Isn't that why people prefer to sort of farm it out to multiple vendors?
No, actually, given a choice, people would like to have everything together with one vendor, because the pros outweigh the cons. If the software is good, if the support is good, the relationship is good, they would rather pay one bill and get everything from one vendor rather than take it out with.
So have you been able to convince your existing clients on, you know, adopting the other offerings of?
Oh, it's really starting to take off. Like we have 30% of our customers for Fresh Sales are actually existing Freshdesk customers.
Okay.
So and Fresh Sales is the first time when we can actually build on the cross-sell or the integration opportunity. And the larger customers of Freshdesk actually use Freshservice for their internal IT help desk.
Right. In terms of revenue breakup, in terms of percentage, Girish, I'm sure customer support, you know, still dominates revenues. But do you have a target in mind that, you know, with Freshworks, this is how my revenue breakup is going to look like, say 1 year down the line or 3 years down the line?
So
will it be like a 30-30-30?
No, see, like it cannot become 30-30-30 overnight, because you have to understand in SaaS, once you have established scale, that product continues to grow. Like Freshdesk continues to be the massive contributor, but the newer products will grow even faster.
Right.
So we are talking about if Freshdesk growing at say 70%, Fresh Sales will go at 500%.
But
so
on a smaller
base, yeah. So, but eventually, in the next 2 years, we still believe that more than 80% of our revenue will come from Freshdesk, Freshservice. But the other products like Fresh Sales are taking off now, and they will be meaningful. And when you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, even 20% is not a small amount.
Right. Right now, if I'm right, I mean, your revenues are somewhere in the $60 to $70 million range. So again, will this help you reach that 100 million, 200 million at a much faster
So
pace?
we are a private company and we don't disclose revenues. So
No, but in terms of, you know, targets going forward, will it be easier to do with a diversified?
Yes, that's the whole idea. So one of the traditional complaints against SMB revenue, the reason why most companies go up market is because they want to ramp revenues faster. So multi-product strategy is a hedge against that risk. of SMB revenues being harder to scale or mid-market revenues being harder to scale, because it's very obvious, right? When you have an enterprise customer paying you $1 million, you only need 100 customers to get to $100 million. But when you have customers paying you $2,000, $5,000, $20,000, you need a lot more of these customers. So it's called a treadmill business in the Wall Street lingo, which is you have to continue to run hard and generate. But the multi-product strategy will act as a good hedge against that, so that we'll be able to ramp revenues faster also.
Right.
And not to mention our customer acquisition costs going lower if customers start using more than one product.
Is this also a consequence of, your Series F round of funding, which I think came about in December 2016, and this whole rebranding is happening some 4-5 months after that. So did that come up in the discussions even then, where the investors, after coming into a new round, said that this is how we want Freshdesk to be?
It's the other way around.
Okay.
The investors were convinced to put money after they saw our vision of what we wanted to build, where they understood that Freshdesk is not just a help desk company. So in fact, the talks were on since May, June last year. So when we explained to them what is our real vision, like what are we attempting to solve here. So in fact, I went to the whiteboard and drew our product roadmap and plans, and that's what convinced the new investors like Sequoia and Axel US, who participated in the last round, to actually put in more money into the company at a significant
There's no whiteboard here, but if you can just mentally draw that for us in terms of where you see Freshworks, say 2 years online, 3 years online. I mean, so far it has been, compared to say a Zendesk, a Zoho, or a Salesforce. But where do you really see the company? Do you also see the potential for it scaling on its own, or will it's always been seen as an attractive target for a bigger player, be it an Oracle or somebody else? Where do you really see this?
See, our focus is on business software for teams. So when I say business software for teams, we're talking about, say, CRM or help desk. So we want to stay focused there. And if you really look at it, that's the core of what we're trying to do, which is enable teams to collaborate and engage with their customers better and offer better support. Every product that we have done till now fits into that. The purpose of why Freshdesk, or why Freshworks, I should also start getting used to it, is actually going against the fundamental problem that exists even today, that most of the business software or enterprise software is clunky, it's expensive, it's time consuming. It's a time to refresh that old business model. And this has been something that has come over the last 20-25 years, right? Where they sell you software and then they send people to install it, they send people to customize it. Every time as a customer you have to sign a SOW, a statement of work, and pay, and when they launch a new version, then it breaks, and then you have to again pay for modifications. So this model has to be retired. That's what we are calling as refreshing business software, and refreshing as a verb, right? So basically it's time to hit refresh, and that is what our core purpose is. We have now successfully demonstrated that we can actually build software that just works and that's affordable, and that's actually which users love to use. So we are not going top down, so we are being discovered on the web, so which means we don't have a choice.
Right.
So somebody who's coming to our website and looking at the product, in the first 2 minutes they have to decide that, hey, this looks interesting and I want to sign up and try for it, and I want to spend the next 2 to 3 weeks of my time evaluating the software. So we have to pass that threshold, otherwise we have no business. So the DNA of the company today is we have cracked that code of building software that's really appealing to users, both visually as well as from a UX standpoint, which is full featured so that it can get its job done with minimal customization, where people can figure it out to do by themselves. And we, of course, are more affordable than most of the expensive vendors, thanks to our model.
So that's the value proposition.
That's the value proposition. That's why we exist. And we, with this focus on business software, this is what you can expect Freshworks to be like.
Right, but the management bandwidth required for this is also going to be huge. So, I mean, your COO stepped down recently. So how are you really going to beef up management bandwidth? Because now a lot of things is dependent on you as an individual, driving product. And it's not? No.
So we have a very solid team. Like our engineering is run by STS Prasad, who was CTO of Walmart Labs. And he's supported by Shan, my co-founder and CTO. So we have strong sales leaders in every geography, and we are a product-driven everything company. So the products do the marketing, the product do the sales. Like,
but do you see the need to fill a COO or
yes, of course,
chief
winning.
sales officer?
So we
kind
are
of role?
actually in the process of backfilling Nishant's role. So there's no doubting that. But see, one more thing is, if the company is growing and healthy, most of these problems are not problems. These are all opportunities to exploit, and that's where we are. Every problem that we have in the company today is.
But there is enough of a management bench. It's not like
I'm really
Girish
proud
is
of.
the
No.
only-
In 2015, if you had asked me, I would have agreed to you that we did not have a leadership bench that was deep enough and had the experience. And I was really struggling in 2015, pulling hard. But I think today it's absolutely, the company is almost like autopilot. I can spend time talking to media.
I'm glad you can. But Girish, the other thing I read, something interesting that you said recently, is that founders shouldn't get too emotionally attached to startups, which is a very counterintuitive thing to say. Usually, it's the opposite that people say about how a founder's passion really drives the startup. Is that a signal that if you get a good opportunity, a buyout opportunity, you will let go?
Why do you have to search for signals out of context? See, what I said was, don't mix emotion and passion. Of course, a founder has to be really passionate about it. And I'm very, very passionate. If there's one thing that I bring to the table, more than my skill, it's the passion that I bring to the table. And everybody knows that. And not only here, wherever I worked, my biggest strength was passion. So what I said in that previous interview was, if you mix emotion and passion, you won't be able to take clear decisions.
The signal we are looking for is really after Series F. What is the next thing? Will we see a listing, an India listing or a NASDAQ listing in terms of exit for investors? Or is it going to be a buyout by a bigger?
So let's look at the logical options, right? See, first of all, we are well capitalized. So we have more money in the bank than what we raised in the last round. And I'm saying this after 6 months after raising it, right? So we have very low burn. Unlike consumer startups which burn a lot of money.
B2B is...
So we have a very low burn. So we are well capitalized to decide what our future course of action could be.
What would you like?
One of the options would be to do the IPO when the timing is ready as a global tech product IPO from India. Do you realize there hasn't been a global tech product IPO from India?
Right.
So we could be the first one. That's definitely something which we look forward to. We don't know when that will happen, but that is a very logical option.
But you would like to list this in the US?
That is because Freshdesk is headquartered in the US.
Okay.
Freshworks.
So a NASDAQ listing is something that we can look forward to?
So yeah, that is one of the options.
The kind of timeline?
I don't know. Meaning we are still too early to talk about that.
A broader question on the software product scene in India. Freshdesk obviously has inspired a lot of SaaS startups. I mean, Pune is a big hub. Chennai is. Where do you see this going? Do you see potential for scale, or is there a Me Too problem that happened in the consumer internet space that's also playing out in the software product space? Your own thoughts on whether this can be a big strength for India? Because I mean, traditionally in the tech space, we've done very well in IT services, the enterprise software space, compared to a consumer internet space. Perhaps it's unfair to compare because they're also in the early phase. But where do you see this going? Do you see scope for, say, 3-4 global big product companies coming out of India?
See, you have to really... Okay, the short answer, yes, definitely. The longer answer is, whenever there is a new tsunami of opportunity, right? There's a new phenomenon happening. And I don't know if you were around, but I was in the US in 2000 when the whole .com thing happened. I passed out in 96. So the only job that most of my friends got was a Y2K job, right? So we've seen the boom of .com and then the bust, right? And whenever these cycles happen, there are good companies and there are bad companies. And Amazon actually was a company that survived the .com bust, right? eBay was a company that survived it. PayPal was a company that survived it. So, and there are so many bad companies that went out of business. So I think it's the same thing happening, right? So which is when there is, everybody wants to start up, and the whole point of starting up an entrepreneurship is not everybody will succeed, right? But everybody will try. And that has to be supported and encouraged. And that's what we're doing as an ecosystem. if there is a good companies will survive. So I would like say, for example, in India, consumer internet, you look at Book My Show. It's a very solid company, profitable, very silent. I admire them, and they are our customers also. So
You should have mentioned that first.
yeah. So good companies will weather the storm, right? And good companies make use of the funding frenzy, etc., and keep the money and don't get carried away to doing things that don't make business sense. So in the SaaS space in particular, since you asked that, I think there is definitely opportunity. I'm seeing two trends, right? One is people are going more vertical. So there are companies like Zenoti, which focuses on like ERP for high-end spas and salons. So there is a company called Good Methods Global starting from Trivandrum or in Kerala, right, of all places. This company is doing phenomenally well.
Okay, final couple of questions, Girish. The other key question that people battle with today is, the future of jobs, particularly for engineers, because in the last decade, IT has been a major engine of, job creation, and as a consequence of that, it's also been synonymous with, urban consumption, especially in cities like, Bangalore. So what is going to replace IT, or, are we hitting the panic button too early? Because people thought, the new age e-com companies, product companies can be, another engine of job creation, but no, that really hasn't happened at a scale at which IT services companies have hired. So where do you see the future of jobs as far as, engineers are concerned? Because it is a social problem, right? You have so many engineering colleges, lakhs of graduates every year. So where do you see this heading?
See, even without any slowdown in IT, India has a big problem in terms of creation of new jobs. So now
jobless growth is
yes.
a concern.
So basically, we need to be creating a lot more jobs, right? So I think I wish I had an answer, right? It's a hard problem, and there are many people in the country who are thinking about this. So one option is to really hope that at one level, the startups will create enough jobs. Like even small startups, if they are sustainable, like let's say you have 1 million startups, but they all provide jobs for say 10 people, 20 people, 30
that
people.
itself can be a force multiplier.
Yeah, that could be a force multiplier. That is, see, this is the change in thinking. Earlier we were thinking about bringing the big factories and the big...
One company hiring like 20,000
or 1 lakh people, right? So we need a combination of both. We don't know where this, and this is almost like following the market momentum. See, the creation of IT services companies like Infosys, TCS, etc. resulted in a lot of jobs for India, but I think many of those jobs came at the expense of displaced foreign workers, right? That's the reality. Like it wasn't like a lot of these jobs were new jobs that were created, because maybe some of them
had some
were,
elements of labor and cost arbitrage.
Correct. So I think I'm not an expert to actually comment on this, but I think with or without an IT services problem, we have a big problem to solve for the country. And I think if I really wish the startup tsunami happens and a lot of startups are created and we are able to...
So what would your message be for, see, because engineering is, still an insurance policy for many people. You would have wished that, people look at different options, but that is the predominant thing for at least, people in South India, where, an engineering degree is sort of the beginning point, the foundation. So what would your advice be for these lakhs of graduates? So, should they again open their minds up to different things, not just entrepreneurship, but perhaps joining a startup? It need not be just, a blue chip company or a top 5.
See, I think,
even in terms of the skills they need today.
See, I think my 2 cents or my advice or my thoughts on this will be, focus on real learning something by doing, learning by doing, right? So, see, I know that fighting the system or going against your parents and not completing the degree and dropping out of college may all sound cool, but may not.
Very few people can carry it.
Yeah, and sometimes it could, and so you drop off and then do what? Yeah. If you don't do anything and sit at home, you're actually putting yourself in more trouble. So, I would say use the 4 years in college to do more stuff than just mugging up textbooks and getting marks. So it's okay if you get reasonable marks to pass, but really focus on upskilling yourself. And I'm amazed by some of the students that we meet today. Like there are people in campus whom I meet when I think, God, when we were students, like we didn't have this opportunity. So there are people who earn lakhs per month just sitting in college and actually running blogs or actually working on assignments, and they are not like freshers. So we actually, when we hire them, we make them offers that are significantly better than hiring freshers, because they come with 2 years of experience building
But
apps.
those would
and
be
building
a
websites.
small number, right?
Yeah. So, but I think nobody is preventing students from doing this, right? So, in fact, one of the programs that I like is what Sanjay Vijay Kumar is doing. It's called Startup Village. In Kerala, it started now a national movement.
Right.
So, I think I just like that program, and we are supporting it with Fresh Desk School of SaaS only because the simplicity of the thought, right? Get people who are in college to do something worthwhile with their time. And like building a startup. So I think their worst case outcome is they get placed in good companies. Their best case outcome is they get funded. So I like the worst case outcome, right? So they join a company like Freshdesk or any of the top startups, and I think that's what is needed. We need people to value their time more and actually focus on learning real stuff. That's my message.
Great. Thank you so much for talking to us, Girish. Great talking to at your adda, your headquarters, so to speak.
Thanks
Thank you
a
so
lot.
much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/etnow.